Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started just so we're on time, and then if we get out a little bit early, that's always a bonus, I think. My name is Suzanne Klenk. I'm with Washington State Employees Credit Union, and this is my coworker and dear friend, Karen Zukaitis. She's also we're both financial educators and coach with WSECU. So our job, just a quick background on us before, to give you an idea why we're here. So WSECU has a financial wellness program, right? So our job doesn't have anything to do with membership or bottom line for the credit union. We are part of that 4% give back, so it's community outreach and philanthropy for the credit union. And our job as financial coaches, we are not financial planners. We don't talk to you about, investing and things like that. We work with people that are in financial crisis. So if you are getting ready to go over the cliff, into bankruptcy or something of that nature, or we deal with a lot of struggling students that are in college or getting out of college that are either racked with student loan debt and credit card debt, or they're getting ready to drop out of college because they can't afford to be there any longer. So the reason why we've been partnering with Gear Up now for about 10 years, 11 years. We've been partnering with Gear Up, and we were doing financial literacy for the 7th and 8th grade students. And that was, we called it the vault. And it was an opportunity for students to start learning about money. Because what we realized is that it's never too, I always tell people, it's never too late to turn around and, not go off the cliff. But it's a whole lot harder, right? If you are saddled with debt, and if you are, especially student loan debt, because death, taxes, and student loans, right? Sally Mae will show up at your funeral, look with their hand out, right? So they don't care what it costs you or your family. You have to pay back those loans. You can't file bankruptcy on them unless, there's some extreme circumstances where you can, but I've actually watched families lose their home over student loan debt. So it's a real extreme circumstance, and I haven't ever seen anybody been able to get out of student loan debt. So one of the things we realized is that if we can start talking to people young, if we can start talking about money and about how to get the education you want and build the life you want without incurring debt along the way, if we can start really, even as, little ones, but even in high school. So I'm 56, so if any of you are close to my age or older, you know that if anybody had come and talked to us when we were in junior high school and talked to us about, man, if you saved 10 cents for every dollar you got for your birthday, or, if you started putting money away and not spending everything that you had, boy, it would change your life a little bit. So as it was, I did not get that education, and I learned, and I came from a very lower middle class family. And so I learned, and I'm an impulse spender, which is kind of a rough gig for a financial coach, but I'm in therapy, so it's okay. But what I know about money is that money is 10% math and 90% emotion, right? So 1 plus 1 equals 2, but you can't take 6 away from 4 without a credit card. The problem is that we don't talk about money with kids. There's so much shame and fear wrapped around it. And a lot of parents we make mistakes with money. And so we don't really feel like we are qualified to talk to our kids about money other than saying, don't do that. Don't make the same mistakes I did, but without going into depth on how not to do that. Foundations in finance. So that's why we are financial coaches. We've both been single parents. I paid off my student loans finally when I was 47. My son was almost completely grown by then. So, he was 17. So, but what that meant is that my money was not spent raising my son and going on fun trips and doing fun things. I was paying off, debt that I had incurred in my early 20s, and so if we can reach out to students and give them a different life than that, that's a big deal. We created foundations in finance for 2 reasons. A, so we can start having those conversations with high school students and also first-year college students, because that's the oh my God moment. They get into college and especially if they've already started incurring student loan debt, somebody's told them you have to have a credit card to go to college. You can't do it without a credit card. So they start incurring debt very, very quickly without any understanding of how to manage that debt or to say no to themselves, right? Especially if they've been said to no to for so long in their past. This is like no parents, nobody's telling them what to do. So all of a sudden, and a $10,000 credit card, hey, life is good. The other thing we're finding after in the last 18 months is just mental health for students has become, we're at, I think, at critical mass for young people, and especially kids that for the last 2 years, high school has been kind of wonky, and then they go into their first year of college, and I think that there's some rocky moments. So this presentation is to really address not only student loan debt and how to help them manage that, but we're also trying to manage their emotional attachment to money and then their struggle with mental health, through this process. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk to you like I would students, okay? So because this is hopefully a presentation that we can give to you and that you can take and you can deliver it to your students or have one of us come, depending on where you are in the country. If you're in the Bahamas, totally down with coming to you there. But if you, someplace warm, please. But it's a presentation that we hope that not only you can take, but we will support you completely through that process, whether it be by phone or email if we can't get to you personally, okay? So just keep that in mind. So now you become 17. Congratulations. Okay, so this is our learning objectives for this presentation. We're going to talk about identifying emotional triggers, right? So a lot of times we have a tendency to self-medicate with money, right? So if you're not feeling good or if you're sad, sometimes going out and buying yourself something nice or going out for dinner, or, whatever with friends, we have a tendency to, emotional triggers can make us spend money where we shouldn't. We're going to talk about creating a plan for your money. Just like if you were to go on a trip somewhere that you've never been before, you'd never go without Surrey or a map, right? Because you'll get lost. And it's the same thing with money. If you aren't used to managing money and creating a spending plan on your own, and budget sounds like a straitjacket, right? So we spend our money, so I want to help you create a plan for spending your money. And then we're going to talk about challenges and barriers to budgeting or to your spending plan. It's hard. People say, budgeting is easy. All you got to do is write, this is what I have to spend, and this is how I'm going to spend it. Well, if that were true, nobody would have money trouble, right? And I'm sure that you have heard your parents complaining about, money and tuition and the cost of everything. And so we're going to talk about those challenges and those barriers, not only the ones that are actually out there, but the perceived barriers that we carry with ourselves in our own, in our own head. We're going to talk about setting personal financial goals, and that's not, a lot of times when people are talking about financial goals, you're certainly not my age, so you're not looking at retirement yet, but that first job after college, or you're looking to, maybe your financial goal is to, get a vehicle so that you can get around, or maybe it's a financial goal to, maybe to be able to afford an apartment and not live, in the dorms. And then we're going to talk about different ways to track your expenses, right? Because keeping track of what you spend is key. So here we go. How many of you are feeling a little stressed out, right? So if you're a junior or a senior, all of a sudden life is getting really fast, right? So people are asking you, what do you want to do after high school? Where are you going to go to college? Have you taken all those crazy tests that are going to get you into college? What if you aren't ready to go? What if you are not ready to move out of the house? What if you can't wait to get out of the house? All of those are going to create some sort of stress for you. And those stressors are real. So a lot of times they come out in expletives, right? So sometimes we're angry and we have anxiety and fear, and sometimes that lashes out in people we truly care about and love. Guilt and frustration. Guilt about, I like to throw in shame there a little bit too, because I think sometimes we feel guilty because maybe we haven't, when you get to that junior and senior year, or even your first year of college, I didn't work as hard as I could have. I did not pay attention as much as I should have. And there's always an opportunity. You can ask anybody there's always an opportunity to go back and kick yourself for something you didn't do before. But the key is to not only to let that go and not beat yourself up, but don't let anybody else do it either, right? So we have a lot of guilt and frustration with maybe past choices we've made, or the fact that we don't feel fully prepared to make these big decisions that are in front of us, when everybody else seems like they're just, snapping those answers out like crazy, right? we have a sense of hopelessness sometimes. And that is, and a lot of times we don't show that outwardly because we don't think anybody else is having the same trouble or issues that we are having. And there is a sense that there's a nervousness about talking to people about when we feel hopeless, right? Because we're not sure we need help, and we're not sure who we need help from. And we don't want to admit that we're struggling because nobody else looks like they're struggling. And if nobody else is struggling, then there must be something wrong with me. And then it's just easier out of sight, out of mind. Avoidance is sometimes where we get into trouble, right? Is when we're feeling a certain way and we're not exactly sure how to express how we're feeling. And so, I'll just, I always call it my Gone with the Wind moment. I'll think about it tomorrow. I'll go do something. Gone with the Wind is probably too much of a reference for you guys as far as age-wise, but just thinking, I'm just not going to deal with this today. So I'm going to go to the party. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go buy something for myself. I'm going to do something that makes me feel better right now instead of dealing with the thing that's actually the root cause of the problem. But the truth is that you really have everything you need to be successful. And I know that sounds like somebody's blowing rainbow smoke your way, right? It's like, you have everything you need. It doesn't feel like we have everything we need. It doesn't feel like we have all the resources at our fingertips or even inside of us. But sometimes it's the self-talk, right? The self-talk of, okay, I got this. And sometimes you have to fake it till you make it, right? Sometimes you have to pretend that you're feeling better or pretend that you have faith in your ability to get through this next day. And the common denominator in your life, if you look at what's going on with you right now, no matter how much stress you have, you made it through to today, right? So all the rough things that have gone on in the past, you've survived that and you've gotten to here. So whatever is going on with you now, you've got this now too. So it may not feel like it, but it's a space and time. And I don't want to sound like, everything is just doom and gloom, but I think sometimes, especially right now, with all of these decisions that are coming up on you, you're like, hey, what's the credit union lady talking to me about my emotions for? Well, the reason why the credit union lady is talking to you about emotions is because our emotions have everything to do with the way we spend money, right? It has everything to do with it. So I want you to feel like you've got the power to change the way you feel right now. And sometimes you have to fake it until you make it, right? So we're gonna walk through that as well. So financial goals can be really overwhelming, just like all the other things that you have going on right now, right? So you're worried about, graduation, or, if you are, in your first year of college, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm here. And the first couple of days were really overwhelming, but exciting. But now I'm settling into the routine of, I got to make it to class on time. Am I doing my homework right? That crazy professor, I fall asleep every single time. How am I keeping up? And in the process of all of that going on, you still have to manage your finances, right? So you've either got student loan money coming in, or you've saved money. Somehow things are being financed for you, whether it be your money or your folks' money, or money that you borrowed, which is your money, but you got to pay it back, right? So naming your short-term financial goals it's a way for you to start prioritizing. A lot of times when we're feeling scattered in our personal lives, we have a tendency to be scattered with our money as well. And so if you sit down and figure out what's a priority to you, right? So what's a priority right now for you? What's a priority? Saving. Okay. So saving money, saving time, both, right? Okay. So what's another priority that we have right now? Anybody? Christmas. Okay. Yeah. Christmas is a priority. Holy Mary, it's coming, right? Yeah, dang. And hopefully you're asking for money for Christmas. But but a lot of things that are a priority to us might be our friends. It might be our grades. It might be a priority might be making sure that you eat properly. It might be that you are trying to prioritize, just time management, right? So we all have different priorities, but your financial goals have to be a priority for you if you're going to get through this and not, run out of money before you run out of school, right? So here are a couple of priorities, like, no, that's not, sorry. So Are your goals for the near future? Like prioritizing my time today might be a goal for me. And what are your financial goals for the future, right? So, and that doesn't have to be 2 years from now. It could be, so, student loan money comes in, you've got your stipend for right now, prioritizing what you're going to do with that money. So books cost this much, food costs this much, this is what my housing is going to cost. Giving myself a little bit of fun money, just so I can survive. Figuring out what those goals are, and making them near goals so you can actually achieve them and then move on to something else. Sometimes if our goals are too far out in the future, we have a tendency, it's like, oh, I'm never going to get there, I'm never going to get there. So those short-term celebrations are good. So for this academic year, so I want to have better grades, and then set a budget for shopping and fun and entertainment, especially if you are struggling and feeling a little bit depressed. We don't want to go crazy going shopping, right? But we do want to set a little bit of a budget for ourselves, a little pot of money that's your fun money, and you can either use that for shopping or going out and such. And then maybe saving up for a car or an emergency is another short-term financial goal for you. And an emergency might be, you just need to get out of the dorms for a weekend. You might just have to, or maybe an emergency could be, you've saved up for a car and, your tires are bald and Les Schwab will rotate them for you. Or your transmission goes out and your family's not there to help you with that. So those short-term financial goals, and those seem really overwhelming too, especially if you're struggling with finances, if you're struggling with keeping money in your pocket and it not, running amok on you. It's hard to save up for emergencies, and all of a sudden, not being able to drive your car because you have a flat tire or bald tires, or, something goes wrong mechanically with it, it turns from an inconvenience to an emergency or some sort of crisis in your life because either you can't get to work or you can't get to school, or it puts you in a dangerous situation because it breaks down in a bad space, right? So I'd like you to take a minute and write down a couple of financial goals, right? And it doesn't have to be, first of all, you need to know that there's no wrong answers, right? Your goals may be different than anybody else's. And you also need to understand that you can change your goals. Nobody is sticking, their thumb on you and telling you, oh, well, this is what you said you were going to do. I'm going to hold you to that. The beauty about being in this position where you are going to start making your own decisions is that if you decide partway down the road that I don't want to do that. I thought I did, but I don't want to do that. You can actually change your mind and do something different. It doesn't matter how far you've gone down that road. You can always turn around if it's not working for you. And I think that's empowering, right? For such a long time, especially as a student and as a young person, you don't have a lot of power because there's always somebody telling you what to do. And now you're in a position where you're going to start making your own decisions and being responsible for those. And so I find a lot of times writing down goals and then maybe ticking a couple off that, okay, these aren't as important as these are, maybe prioritizing those a little bit. Dave Ramsey is one of my favorite people. And when it comes to money and finances, he's not somebody that I'm not sure I would like him personally, but I really like his philosophy on money, right? And the reason I say that is if any of you are, as WSECU, I don't endorse any financial plan or anything like that. Dave Ramsey is he has some great financial information, and I utilize this in my own life. His philosophy on people is different than mine, right? So if you have heard about Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman or any of those people, when I tell you I like some of their financial stuff, it doesn't mean I like them personally. So just so you know that. So anyway, so something magical happens when you write down your goals. And it changes the way you see your situation. I think a lot of times we get really overwhelmed, right? So like in high school, ASVABs are coming up and you're still playing sports and your parents are kind of pushing you, or somebody in your life is pushing you to do other things. We're trying to keep up with our friends. We're thinking about graduation. We're thinking about getting a car. We might have a job. There's so many things going on in your life. And if you don't sit down and write down your goals, all of a sudden you're at the end of your senior year and you're walking, with your partner at graduation. And it's like, oh, dang, this is it. This, all of a sudden, all these decisions have to be made. And I haven't been making a plan that serves me, right? I've been, doing things that make my parents happy, doing things that make my teachers proud, making sure the coach sees me out on the field or on the court, making them proud. But what have I done and what have I set up so I'm ready to do things for me? And so writing down your goals is extremely important, financial goals and personal goals, just because you have an opportunity to decide what your life looks like, right? So working towards your goals brings a sense of accomplishment and diminishes stress. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time talking this morning, but so and being able to write down your goal and then reach that goal. And sometimes I tell people don't try to write down 20 or 30 goals, right? Give yourself 2 goals to complete, like short-term goals that you can complete in the next 30 days, right? And what that does is not only does it give you a sense of accomplishment, but it also reminds you that you've got what it takes to get the job done, right? And if you give yourself a goal that you know that you can accomplish within 30 days, and not something that you can be lazy about, but something that you actually have to strive for, something that you actually have to do a little bit of work for, it gives you your power back, right? Or if you don't think you've ever had power, it establishes your identity and your power within yourself to not only say, this is what I want, and then making it happen, right? So that sense of accomplishment is going to go a long way to relieve your stress. I've noticed, at least with young people and with other people, especially when they're digging out of debt, is the minute you get your voice back, the minute you can say, I'm doing this for me. It's great if somebody else thinks it's terrific or somebody else is proud of me from taking these steps. And it's also okay if people are looking at me going, why are you spending time doing that? Or, taking your voice back and doing things for yourself empowers you, because truly the only person that's going to make the life that you want a reality is you, right? And the foundation that you create is the one that's stable, that you can stand on. And if your foundation is a little shaky, it's hard to relieve stress, right? Because maybe you've left some things undone. So this is the time, junior and senior year is the time where you are building that solid foundation. Don't leave things undone so that you've got a foundation to stand on that's strong enough for you to lift up the life that you want to create for yourself. And there you go. See, I went ahead of myself. So being in control of your life is paramount, right? And you have everything you need to do that. So spending plans. So remember I told you, I feel like a budget is a straitjacket, right? I believe that, because a budget, it sounds like, okay, I wrote this down and it's like written in stone. And that's not the case, right? So knowing where your money goes is a way to take control of your future, right? So spending money, and I tell this to adults too. So I want you to know that I'm not talking to you as a kid. I'm letting you know that I work with people in their 50s and 60s and 70s that can't keep control of their money, right? They're in financial crisis and financial stress. So the key, and I'm telling you what I tell them, writing down, spending your money on paper before you get it is one of the key things to success, because it's like a map, right? It's a roadmap. This is how much money I know I have coming in, and this is where I think I'm going to spend it. Now, that doesn't mean that you might not change your mind halfway along the way, but if you have a plan, it's a mitigating, if anything takes you off the ditch, right? If you go sideways because something happens, you have a roadmap to at least go back to, and maybe you have to rearrange a few things, but putting it down on paper allows you to be in control of where your money goes and knowing where it goes. How many of you have swiped your debit card in the last 10 days and not known exactly how much you spent right at that time, right? Yeah, like 100 times. And it's by design that happens. So I can tell you as a financial institution, the reason why creditors and financial institutions created plastic is because there's absolutely no emotional transaction that takes place when you use plastic to buy things, right? So that's why, they want to make it easy. Now we can just tap. You don't have to sign anymore. You tap your card and you go. And the reason they want you to do that is because you don't know how much money you're spending. But I promise you, if you've got a $20 bill in your purse or in your wallet, and your bill is $18.25, 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, you're going to use that debit card before you'll ever touch that 20, right? Because spending cash registers as pain in your brain. And so we don't do it. We keep it. Oh, I'm going to save that 20. I don't want to break that 20. I'll use my debit card, right? But you use that 20, and I promise you, there's a place behind your belly button. When you give somebody a $20 bill and they give you $1.25 back, there's a place behind your belly button that's like, oh, and you look at your receipt, right? You're like, did I get the right price? I thought that was a little bit cheaper. Wow, I can't believe I was spending, because there's actually an emotional transaction that takes place when you use cash. So we don't want you to do that, right? We want you to spend. That's our economy, right? So knowing where your money goes is the first key, and that's about being alert and being aware, right? But we've taught you since you were babies not to think about how much money you're spending. And there's more money in the hands of 13 to 30-year-olds, spendable cash or disposable income, than at any other time in history. So, like I say, knowing where your money goes is key. It's the first step to being in control of your finances for the rest of your life. The loudest voices in the room come from marketing, and it's not in your best interest, right? So if you wear those shoes and wear those pants, drive that car, you're going to be thinner, cuter, better looking spouse, better looking boyfriend, girlfriend. You're going to the prom, right? If you buy our product, right? I got to tell you, at 56, I still fall for that crap. And it's directed at your age group, right? 13 to 30. You are marketed to heavier than any other age group in our population. Many individuals don't realize they're overspending until it's too late. Did you know that if you miscellaneously spend $27.40 a day, you will blow $10,000 in 1 year? Just think about that. $27.40. Where can you go out for dinner for less than 20, other than McDonald's? But I don't know if a few people go to McDonald's now, it's $27.40, right? We miscellaneous spend that type of money all day long. How much is your latte? My quad espresso with 2 pumps of sugar-free vanilla and light steamed breve. If I order it the wrong way, it's $6. If I order it, the right way, it costs me $4 and something cents. But sometimes we start work at 4 a.m. because we're driving everywhere. So sometimes I need 4 of those a day, right? And if you're in Brandware, you got a tip, right? So all of a sudden that $4 becomes $5. And before you know it, you're spending $20 a day on it. How many of you have spent $20 a day in coffee at least once? Amateurs. I do it all the time. So anyway, $27.40 a day is $10,000 in 1 year, right? So it's no wonder we can go into debt so quickly, right? Especially if we're using plastic, even if it's coming out of your checking account. If you're using a debit card, it's really easy to spend that kind of money and not even think about it. In a panic, we tend to borrow money from friends or family or depend on credit cards to get by. Now, that's probably not happening to you at 17 or 18 years old, but I promise you, as a freshman in college, something comes up and you don't have money, if you have a credit card, you'll use it. Student loan debt has surpassed the mortgage loan debt in the United States. And student loan credit card debt is crushing. We have students that are leaving college at an exorbitant rate because they are so far in debt they just can't continue to go to school. And what happens when you leave school and you have student loan debt? If you have student loans and you leave school, your student loans come due immediately. There's no forbearance, there's no playing around. You leave school and they want you to start paying back those loans, right? I will tell you that my student loans, up until I paid them off, my payment was over $600 a month. And I work at a credit union, so we're a cooperative. It's not like we're, and so that type of debt can be crushing. And so, again, one of the reasons why I'm here talking to you today is to save you from that fate, right? So if you can look into the future and go, oh, if there's a different way to pay for college, if there's a different way to get the education to support the life I want to live and do it without incurring debt, that's a victory, right? So is a budget or a spending plan a good idea? Yes, it is. So where do you begin? So your financial snapshot. So know how much money you have and then tell it what to do, right? And I know that sounds simple. Telling your money what to do sounds really, really crazy simple, but it's not, because we have a lot of things already that are telling our money what to do, right? So how many of you are, still in high school, how many of you are working, right? Several of you have a job. Why do we have jobs? So we can support that cool car that we want, right? And so if you have a vehicle, what is it? How much is car insurance, at 17 or 18? A lot of you are looking at over $200 a month for car insurance, right? So your money is already being told what to do by somebody else, right? The minute you incur debt, somebody else is telling your money what to do. Somebody else is telling you what to do with your money. And it creates an urgency. I have to work. I have to do this because I'm maintaining this. Or somebody is looking to me for money every month. So knowing how much money you have and you telling it what to do before anybody else gets their grubby paws in there is a victory for you. Understanding wants versus needs. Again, that seems really simple, but it's not. So I'll tell you, so my son is now 25, but when he was your age, at 17, 18, we sat down because I had just gotten, all educated on how I was going to, teach students how to, deal with their money. And we sat down and we talked about, we did this whole wants versus needs exercise. And on mine, because I'm the financial educator, I was like, so, rent or mortgage, clothing, toilet paper is kind of a big deal. Especially in the last 18 months, right? So, I was writing down all of what I would consider needs. And then my wants were, actually hair color ended up over in needs as well. But, then there were my wants. So, and I had, a few of those, going out, with my friends every once in a while, getting my car detailed because I was too lazy to wash it myself. So those were my wants. Then my son, at your age at that time, he came out with Xbox 360 Live or Xbox One, or, his phone was a need for him. Texting, an unlimited texting plan. That tells you that it was a while ago too, because now they're all unlimited. Just after I got done paying for his. But anyway, his idea of wants and needs were completely different than mine. We lived in the same household. He heard me complaining about money, but his idea of what a want and a need were completely different than mine. And chances are your ideas of wants and needs are completely different than your parents or whomever you're living with at this time. But your wants and your needs are going to change, right? And when I asked him, so help me understand how you didn't have like shelter, clothing, all that. He said, well, those are your needs. You take care of my needs. I don't have any needs. So my wants are actually my needs, right? So, and that might be your perspective right now too, but think about some of the things that you're going to, so I when I was your age, I couldn't wait to get out of my house. I couldn't wait to be an adult and making my own decisions. And I really hadn't thought about paying my own bills, but I was pretty excited about not having anybody tell me what to do. And I'm sure my son felt the same way. But so what are some of the things that your folks take care of right now that you're going to have to take care of, once you get out on your own? What are some of the things that we pay for? So housing, right? So rent. So what's the average rent in Olympia, Washington right now? The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment is $1,725. And that's in a not so good area, right? So my mortgage is $1,500, right? So rents have skyrocketed. So chances are you're going to have to find a roommate, right? What are some of the other things? So there's food. Do you know how much your folks spend on food every single week? Do you know how much gas, is costing people right now? I think gas right now is up to $3.90 a gallon in Olympia right now. So do you know what kind of gas mileage your vehicle gets? Do you know how much your car insurance is? What does it cost to be you, right? A lot of times we don't know, but that's going to change our wants versus needs, right? It's going to change what our decision is going to be. So to ensure your success, you need to do a little bit of research, right? We need to figure out what rent is going to cost us, whether we're going to college or if we're going to a trade school, if we're going to stay home, if we're going to stick it out with mom and dad. Maybe we're going to have to pay them a little bit of money if we're going to be staying at their house. But ensuring your success is writing it all down. How much money do I have to deal with? How much money am I going to get to work with? And what am I going to tell it to do? And who else has got their grubby paws in there wanting to tell my money what to do as well? So what I have folks do in all of my coaching practice, the very first thing I have people do, no matter how old they are, is I want you to keep track of your spending for at least, I like to say 2 weeks. Sometimes I think 4 weeks is a little, I don't have the attention span for 4 weeks, but I think 2 weeks is a great idea. And if you're interested in this form, I can get it to you, but this is a way for you to keep track of your spending. And I don't want you to change anything, right? I don't want you to do anything, and except for keep track of what you spend. So gum, going out for pizza, gas for your car, your ASB card, whatever you spend money on for 2 weeks. I just kind of want you to keep track of it. And make sure you get receipts. I can't tell you how many times I go into any place of business and somebody says, "Would you like a receipt?" People are like, "No, I don't want my receipts." If you're using plastic, you better be getting your receipts, right? And the reason identity theft, all sorts of people are stealing card information, always get your receipts. But even adults don't get their receipts anymore. So that's what I tell everybody. Get your receipts. And at the end of the 2 weeks, sit down and write down what you spent money on, and you'll be shocked at what you spend money on, right? So a lot of times we have an idea, well, I went out to eat here, but, I forgot that I stopped and I got a pack of gum when I filled my car up with gas, or I forgot that I, bought pizza, or I bought coffee for somebody, or whatever. Keeping track of your expenses and getting an idea of what your spending patterns are is a really good way to change your spending patterns, right? We don't know what we're doing until we know what we're doing. And then when you know better, you can do better, right? So, oh gosh, I didn't realize I was spending. And then when you add it all up, dang, you find out, oh my gosh, I've been spending $100 a month on coffee. Oh my gosh, I've been spending, $125 eating out with my friends. I can still have fun with my friends and maybe not be spending that kind of money. Or maybe, I shouldn't be buying everybody else's, meals, right? If you're one of those people that likes to be really generous and pay for other people. Or if you have those friends that are, I forgot my wallet, I'll pay you back later, right? So that's happened to all of us. So, but once you've kept track of your spending, once you know what your spending patterns are, then once you know where your money is going, then you can create some financial goals and maybe create a spending plan that either validates maybe you're doing exactly what you want to do with your money, right? So you've got it all written down and you're like, hey, I'm actually doing some pretty great things with my money. I'm putting some money away. I'm saving money for college. I'm saving money for my car. I'm doing all the right stuff. But if there's a few places where you'd like to make some changes, this is how you figure it out, right? This is what I spent money on in the last 2 weeks. And these are some of the things that I would like to avoid doing with my money. And so I'm going to make a plan, or a budget if you want to call it that. So now we get to use a budgeting tool. And so I am old, so I use a general ledger. I still write everything down, right? But you guys are hip and cool, and you've got all the really cool stuff like on your phone. I'm sure most of you have smartphones, right? So there are a bunch of different apps out there. So there's some fun notes that you can keep track of things. If you don't get your receipts, there's a way for you to in your notes. Oh, hey, I stopped here. I hadn't planned to spend my money here, but I spent a little bit of money here. But the cool things out there right now are EveryDollar and Mint are free apps that you can keep on your phone. Most financial institutions have a spending tracker in their mobile app. So WSECU has one. I don't know of any credit union right now that doesn't have a spending tracker, but it'll kind of give you an idea on how you can create a spending plan and then kind of keep towards it. And it'll tell you, hey, you're right on track. You're doing everything good. Oh, hey, you made a couple of different choices here. Do we want to add that to our spending plan? Do we want to add these choices because they're really awesome choices? Or was this that hiccup, in your plan? And if it is, we just want to alert you that here's a hiccup and we just want to be a little bit careful next time. Make sure there's a whole bunch of free stuff out there. So don't pay for a spending an app or a spending tracker because there's a bunch of cool ones that are out there for free. I really like EveryDollar. My son actually uses EveryDollar. I use the one through the credit union. But Mint is also a really good one. And Credit Karma is out there, and it'll not only help you track your spending, but it'll also kind of help you keep track of your credit score if you're starting to develop that right now. So here's some of the things that might be on your spending plan. And and a lot of these things might not be on your spending plan yet. So your spending plan is personal, just like your money is, just like your choices are, right? And there's no right or wrong. But rent, utilities, and food. I knew that I could not wait to get out of my parents' house, but I really didn't think about all the things that they pay for, right? So, and right off the top of your head, it's got rent and utilities. So we know that that's, electricity, phone, and back when I was getting out of high school and going into college, we didn't have cell phones back at that time, so that'll kind of give you an idea where I'm at. But man, I didn't think about salt and pepper and all the staples that were just readily available at my house. I didn't think about toilet paper, soap, toothpaste, cool hair products at that time. I didn't think about adding those things in to what I was going to have to spend money on. So it was one thing to figure out what rent was going to cost me, but I didn't think of all the other things. And when I started writing those things down after, there was a bit of a pucker moment there, right? So make sure that you can kind of avoid some of those pucker moments. Start and look at your parents' budget or whomever you're living with. Look at their budget for those things and kind of figure out, just kind of this forward, look at what your spending might be. Transportation or a car payment. Man, if you can avoid a car payment for your entire life, that is really smart. But especially in these early stages, especially when you're getting into college, being able to avoid a car payment is great. But transportation is expensive, right? So not only is it gas and oil changes and maintenance, but you're looking at car insurance as well, and that car insurance, boy, can take you down if you're not careful. So shopping around for those types of things is really important as well. And a lot of times you can get discounts. So make sure that you ask them. So what are the levels of insurance and what are the discounts I can get? Do I get a discount if my grades are higher? Do I get a discount if I am taking a certain amount of, classes? Gas, so fuel for your vehicle, your cell phone. Man, I'll tell you, these little computers are amazing. They're awesome to have, but they're crazy expensive as well. I think the new iPhone 13 is like $1,300 or something. I mean, that's just crazy. I think my first flip phone cost me like $45, and I just about had a heart attack over that. And that was a while ago, but the new phones can be absolutely crazy expensive. And I know everybody wants to have the newest technology, right? Subscriptions, Amazon Prime, Amazon Music, Hulu, all those things that you enjoy at your folks' house. Now, a lot of times you can talk them into giving them your password, so you can move it over to your computer or whatever. But sometimes you can't. So you have to, I think that there's a limit on how many people you can have on your subscriptions. But boy, those will cost you money too. I hear kids all the time saying, oh, well, I'm not going to get cable. I'll just stream. Well, you have to have subscriptions now. So you want to be careful of those because those can sneak up on you. $9.99 a month doesn't seem like a big deal until you have 10 of them. Right? Shopping and entertainment, boy, that can, those can be one of those budget busters or one of those spending plan off ramps where, one shopping trip or, a trip, a movie and, just going to the movie and getting popcorn and a soda can set you back $50 right now. So just keeping those things in mind and figuring out, what are your priorities? What do you want to do? Do we want to save up and maybe only go have a really great night out once a month or maybe twice a month and then plan for that and save for that? Eating out can set you back as well. But grocery shopping can as well. So just planning those things out, making sure you go out for pizza, make sure everybody pitches in for the pizza. Or doing a potluck at your dorm is kind of a fun way to do things as well. So your plan needs to be realistic, right? So a lot of times we have a tendency, that's why I don't like budgets, is because it's, okay, I've set this plan and I've got to stick to it. But boy, things change, right? So, our friends change, our situation changes. And so it needs to be realistic, but it also needs to be flexible. I always tell people when you're first doing your spending plan, never do it in pen, always do it in pencil, because you can always erase it and change your mind, right? It's your money, it's your choice, it's your business, right? So I want you to feel empowered to change things if it's not working for you. And allow progress to your goals and celebrate your progress as well. Things need to be simple so that you can accelerate through your goals and reach them and celebrate those things, but also if you need to change things up. One of the things I find, no matter what age people are, they have a tendency to feel like they failed if they have to make a change. And failure is a word that's pretty heavy. I like, I just have to be a little bit flexible right now, and I have to change things up because this choice isn't working for me any longer. So I'm going to move things around and change it up a little bit. And don't let anybody else use that failure word with you either. It's heavy and it doesn't belong to you. That's somebody else's burden. So I really like monitoring your progress, and it's not a progress report, right? This isn't a test. It's not something that you have to engage with any other person with. I happen to be, I think I told you in the beginning, I'm an impulse spender, which is rough for a financial coach, but I have a spending buddy, right? I have a friend, her name is Stephanie, and she kind of keeps me on track. So when I do get off, if I'm saving for something specific, I have a 2 signatures for withdrawal account, and I still have it. I mean, over the years, I started when I was really struggling financially, and now that I've kind of moved myself out of debt, I still have that 2 signatures for withdrawal account, and I use it for big trips. I just got back from Athens, Greece. I spent 3 weeks there, and my money for my trip was in the 2 signatures for withdrawal. Well, about 6 months ago, Bonnie Raitt was doing not 6 months ago, it was before shutdown. Bonnie Raitt was coming to Chateau St. Michel Winery, and the tickets were like $120 a piece, right? I'm like, oh my God, I want to go, right? So I was going to take the money out of my Greece account and then put it back. And so, but it's 2 signatures for withdrawal, and I needed Stephanie's permission, right? I had to have her sign to get that money out. She's like, is Bonnie Raitt more important than Greece? I said, of course, Bonnie Raitt's not more important than Greece, but I've still got I've got some time before I go to Greece, and I'll put that money back. And she's like, yeah, no, I don't think so. We're not going to do that. And I think there was some expletives in that. I think I was pretty upset about that. But sometimes we need someone to check us. And I know that sounds like an odd thing for an old lady to be doing, but I do know that sometimes I have a tendency to, I want money saved for something else, but I can get squirreled off somewhere. So monitoring your progress every single month, and celebrate when you don't do the wrong thing, right? Celebrate yourself when you do that, and celebrate each victory. So if you are saving for a car, and you set yourself small goals. I want to have $1,500 put away by this period of time. I want to have $1,800 put away by this time. My car that I'm looking at is a $5,000 car. So I want to set goals incrementally to reach, during a certain period of time. And then when you reach that, celebrate that. And it doesn't have to be celebrating with spending money, but just acknowledge the fact that you've reached that goal. You've done the work. You've been successful, right? And then sometimes we're successful, but we can run into some hiccups. Impulse buys, grocery indulgences. I think food is necessary, but sometimes we don't need the extra bag of chips. Over purchasing, it's really easy, especially with Amazon. One click, and I know that sometimes you can subscribe on your phone without really realizing what you've signed yourself up for. So if you do run into some hiccups, those aren't failures. You just got a little bit of work to do, right? We're going to plug those spending leaks, and we're going to get back on track as quickly as possible. So one of the things that I always talk to students about is sometimes there's not enough money. And I don't care what anybody will tell you. I hear people all the time saying, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Telling someone who's struggling financially to be more frugal is out of touch, in my opinion. And sometimes there isn't enough money, right? Sometimes there isn't an opportunity to work a second job. Sometimes there isn't an opportunity to borrow money from a family member. Sometimes you don't have that assistance. And even in high school, you can run into those situations. So I want you to know that there is help out there. So you can ask for help without talking to anybody who's close to you, right? So 211 or 211.org is essential needs assistance. So if you need assistance with rent, if you need assistance with utilities, if you need assistance, getting to school, if you need assistance, with sustenance, with food, 211 is an outstanding resource, and a lot of people don't know about it. And it's what I really love about it is they don't treat people any differently than you would in any other place looking for assistance. They are there to provide resources to you or to get you in touch with resources. And it's anonymous, right? So nobody's going to broadcast that you've called and asked for food assistance or you've asked for assistance for housing. But it's an opportunity for you. And what I always tell students is to check out 211 before you need them, right? So like tonight, you can go, or even on your phone, at lunchtime, you can type in 211.org and look at all the different resources that are available to you. It's kind of like a fire drill, right? So the reason why we do a fire drill or we do the drop, cover, and roll is it creates flesh memory. So when you are panicked and you are stressed or you are in a situation that is causing that, we have a tendency to make really, really crappy decisions when we're scared or we're frightened or we're stressed out. So if we know where the resources are before we run into trouble, then it just, this is going to become a huge crisis for me. Hey, I remember 211 had some resources for me. So, and definitely check out your school counselors as well. They've got resources that you can get a hold of. But if you are in a position where you don't feel like you can do that, 211 is at least a really good place to start. I'm not saying it's going to solve all of your problems, but it's a really good place to start looking for resources to assist you in a time that might be troublesome for you. It is nationwide. Yes. Yeah. It's a really fantastic program. So 211 is something that I use. So I work at Purdy, which is a women's prison in Washington State. And 211 is a fantastic resource for women and for men that are coming in. So we work with the Shelton Correctional Center as well. And 211 is absolutely fantastic. It's just an opportunity to reach out and find out where resources are available. And it's a way to do that in a way that keeps your dignity, right? So there's enough going on in this world, especially we treat poverty as a crime right now and have for a really long time. And I think sometimes we have a tendency to not be kind to people that are struggling financially. And so what I love about 211 is they just treat people with dignity. This is, hey, these resources are here for a reason. They are set up to help you, and if you need help and you're not using them or you don't feel like you have access, then we're not doing our jobs right. That's the way they treat you, and I love that. So really fantastic program. And so Karen Zukaitis, I think we did this. Yeah, so this is Karen's contact information. So Karen handles. We're in Washington State. Karen handles Seattle North, and I've got Seattle South. Right. So, and if you are out of state, there are a lot of resources that two caveats I want to tell you, and I want to make sure I'm getting you out of here on time, but we got plenty of time. Okay. So the first thing I want to tell you is that we were supposed to actually be attending this conference, and we were on our way here, on the plane, and they're like, hey, a couple people bailed, and we want to know if you'll present. So we have a lot of handouts that go with this presentation. We have a fritter finder. We also have sample budgeting tools or spending plan tools. We also offer financial coaching to students that attend this workshop, right? And a lot of times, because we cover the entire state of Washington, we don't do that. We don't sit down with them. A lot of times we'll do it over email or phone call or whatever. So I want to offer those resources to you as well. If you are interested in getting the handouts that go with this presentation, because we didn't have time to bring to download those and get them printed off. But we will email the presentation to you. We can also email you all of the resources. If you want to create a financial coaching program for your students, we will help you do that. So we can do like a train the trainer for financial coaching. We can give you all the tools that we use. And what I love about financial coaching is it's completely, Karen and I have completely different styles. I work with people specifically that are in crisis. I work with the people that can't sleep at night because they're getting ready to lose their home, right? I'm good at that because I've been there, right? So Karen has a completely different style of coaching and is crazy successful. Nothing we do costs money. So WSECU is our job is part of the 4% give back, right? So we are complete community outreach and philanthropy. So you don't have to be in Washington State. You don't have to belong to the credit union. We won't try to push the credit union on anybody. Our only job is to provide financial education. So this workshop usually comes with sitting down and working, on a sample spending plan and maybe talking a little bit more engagement on, what are the things that you're spending your money on right now? If you do have a job, do you know how much you're paying in taxes? Have you started a Roth IRA? We do a lot of those conversations. So I wanted to give that to you. This is Karen's information. So Zukaitis at WSECU.org. And then I'm Suzanne at Klenk at WSECU.org. So our email addresses are really easy to use. So I have my business cards here. I believe Karen has hers here as well. So if you'd like to reach out for information for your students, or even for, I know that there's, educators that are struggling financially as well. So we just wanted to let you know that we are a resource for you, whether or not you're in Washington State, and we would be delighted to help you in any way we can. And if you want to create a financial wellness program within your school for your students, we can help you set that up. So we can give you all the resources that we have, and we can actually be a resource for you as as your program gets going. If you have any questions, you can reach back to us, and we'll be available to you to do that.